Early afternoon tomorrow, the high 45, and then partly sunny on Wednesday, the high 46. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
At 7:08, it's time to call Permaseal Basement Systems, 800-421-7325. Time to check those temperatures. 45 at O'Hare, 46 at Midway, 43 in Aurora, 42 in Kankakee, and 45 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping you powered up no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, we began the show with this story, but it bears repeating because it is really a seismic political event. And I'm talking about the election of Javier Milei as the next president of the country of Argentina. This is a radical capitalist, an economist by training and profession, who burst on the scene largely through debates and his own programming on television in Argentina.
Bookers loved him because he was, he would speak quickly against government spending and ruling political class and ratings. He was a ratings grabber. He was awesome. But he spoke the truth, and he was real. He wasn't faking it.
He had a program where he would debunk the myths that are promulgated by socialists. Maybe we need a spin-off in the United States. Mm-hmm. Milei, in an interview he gave with Bloomberg News, I know some people saw him on Tucker. The interview, actually, that Bloomberg News did was more instructive. Talked about his positioning, his throw the bums out campaign, and what the ruling caste in Argentina has inflicted upon the people of Argentina.
And we're the ones who best represent the opposition to the establishment and the status quo, because deep down on the other side, there are socialists with bad manners or good manners. But there are all socialists who are impoverishing the country, and they're the same from 40 years ago. They've been leading Argentina for years, and it's getting poorer by the minute. In fact, in 2001, there were 2 and none left. They are the same from then, plus they've multiplied. So that's why we say that a different Argentina is impossible if things continue the same as always. And we're here to change that.
Socialists of good manners and socialists of bad manners, but they're all socialists. He could have been talking about Illinois. He could have been talking largely, some exceptions, largely about the Beltway as well. For more on that event, that election in Argentina, and other geopolitical matters, we're pleased to be joined again by Stephen Bucci. He served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Steve, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate you letting me come back.
So, Milei, Brexit 2.0?
It remains to be seen. Obviously, very flamboyant politician, very outspoken with his ideas, similar to a certain guy who ran here in the United States a while back, President Trump. But it's always interesting to me that anybody who is a little bit different than the standard run-of-the-mill politician, all of those politicians all start clutching their pearls and swooning that, oh, my God, this is the end of the world. Let's wait and see. The people of the country elected him. Let's
end of the right end of the world, because I believe in what you say you believe in, but you don't. I'm standing against the rent-seeking corporate class who buys the politicians and captures the regulatory agencies to say free minds and free markets, free exchange, free trade. We don't do pacts with communists, whether they're communists under Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua or under President Xi in China. I mean, those are the things that we say. The difference is, it seems to me, he's serious about it. And you're not supposed to really be serious about it.
Exactly right. There's lots of window dressing, lots of posturing, but not a heck of a lot of action. And this guy appears like he is going to take action. So that's scary to the standard politicians in almost everybody's country. And we'll have to see where he goes. He could turn out to be a horrible guy. We don't know. But let's not hang him preemptively. The people elected him. That's their choice. Let's see what he does once he gets into office.
Moving over to Eastern Europe. So Zelensky is saying a lot of things about Russia's intentions. One, he said that Russia was behind October 7th through its Iranian allyship. Okay, I need some dot connecting there.
Yeah, that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah, that's what it seemed to me. He also said that Russia has plans to strike the Balkans to distract the West's attention away from Ukraine.
Now, that's a much easier leap because they've already been doing some mischief in there with their friends, the Serbs, trying to stir things up in Bosnia-Herzegovina, where I spent time as their defense attaché there in Sarajevo, and spent a lot of time going up into the northern part of the country where the Serb minority lives, Kosovo, all those areas where Russia can influence the Serbs. They would love to see that change hands in several of those areas. So that one, I can believe, that's sort of well within Russia's wheelhouse. Doing October 7th, I don't think so.
Moving over to the Middle East, we have so many theaters to cover. The reporting by the Amazon Post that there is a tentative deal between the Israeli government and Hamas, essentially, for a 5-day pause in the campaign in exchange for 50 hostages to be released. No men and no soldiers, but 50 hostages. What's your handle on that reporting?
It's possible Netanyahu left that open, that if there were a meaningful release of the hostages, that he would take a pause, not a ceasefire. And it looks like the leadership there in Israel have made a decision. If the reporting is true at all, I don't know that it is. But that one seems very possible. That would be a significant one, particularly to get some of the women and children out. But I don't think anybody in the West ought to make the mistake to think that this means Israel is going to stop and we're going to go back to the status quo prior to October 7th. I think Israel is going to continue this fight, and they are going to remove Hamas from their position of authority in Gaza, and they are not going to allow that to happen again.
Well, what is your reaction to, there's so many pro-Palestinian protests over the weekend here in Chicago on Saturday. They shut down 6 lanes at Lakeshore Drive. They took over. And I just wanted you to hear this. This is one of the protesters.
We're telling them no business as usual. We're not going to allow you to do business. That means we're going to shut down your major thoroughfare for hours if we have to.
So they're getting more aggressive, I would say, in their protesting tactics. How long is this going to continue?
Well, until somebody stops them. I think we have freedom of speech and freedom of assembly here in the United States, even for people who are not citizens of the country. But you don't have complete freedom of action to disrupt other people and disrupt business. And I think at a certain point, law enforcement needs to be allowed to step in and stop behavior that is not appropriate, that's destructive, or that impinges overly on the rights of other people doing their, living their lives and trying to go to their job and that sort of thing. And I'm sorry, every report that you see from Gaza reconfirms the horrific nature of what Hamas has done and what they are still doing. And, the leadership of Hamas has said repeatedly, no, we did everything that you guys said we did on October 7th. We're proud of it, and we're going to keep doing it. So why in the world would anyone think that Israel should be forced into some sort of accommodation with those folks is beyond me. And we need to step up across the Western world and say to some of these protesters, enough. We'll listen to you if you speak peacefully. You destroy things, you're going to go to jail, and if you're not a legal resident, you're going to be deported.
With respect to last week's confab between the big guy and Chinese dictator President Xi, other than calling him a dictator, was anything particularly accomplished in advance of America's interests in the Indo-Pacific?
You mean apart from the massively important thing that we're going to get some pandas back in the country?
Yeah, well, panda diplomacy is important. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think we got much of anything out of it, other than to confirm in President Xi's mind that he could roll President Biden over pretty much anything, and that's kind of the reality. It was not a stunning performance on President Biden's part at all.
It seems to me like if you really wanted to send a message to Xi, that would have been the perfect occasion to do it while he's being feted by some of America's top corporate executives, at least in terms of wealth. What a disgusting display that was. But that would have been the perfect time if you were interested. I know that Joe Biden isn't, but if you were interested to announce that we're going to, speed up the supply of weapons to Taiwan, or provide a roadmap to making sure that Taiwan is able to defend itself. Would that have been too provocative for you, or is that something that if there was a president interested in deterring Xi and Chinese expansion, that's something like that would have been appropriate?
No, I think something like that would have been very appropriate. The Chinese do all sorts of things that are provocative, building islands out in international waters and then claiming that that's now their waters because they built this island out there. That's like anchoring a aircraft carrier in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and claiming that as American waters. They do incredibly provocative things, but when we do something, they go crazy. Like when Nancy Pelosi visited, I can't think of anything I've ever agreed with Nancy Pelosi on, but making that visit to Taiwan, there was absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a sovereign nation, and if she wants to visit there as the Speaker of the House, she had every right to do it. And for the Chinese to just go crazy over it, I'm sorry, they can't control our policies. And if we let them do that, they will just keep doing it. And it's got to stop.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades, Army Special Forces, top Pentagon official as well. He's the visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me. Have a great week and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
All right. Once again, our Food for the Poor campaign is underway as we help to provide life-saving food for children in Latin America and the Caribbean.